Let's be real for a second. Life tests us. People test us. Not always in big dramatic ways. No, most of the time it's subtle, quiet. It shows up in the little things. A dismissive glance, a sarcastic comment, a passive-aggressive joke that stings more than it should. And what are we told to do? Smile. Brush it off. Don't make a scene. Keep the peace. But here's the question, at what cost? How many times have you walked away from a conversation feeling small, invisible, ashamed that you didn't speak up? How many nights have you laid in bed replaying something someone said, thinking, why didn't I say this? Or, next time I will. Let's just tell the truth. We don't need more advice about being the bigger person. What we really need are tools. Real, grounded tools. We need to remember that self-respect isn't optional, it's essential. Because here's the deal, other people don't get to define who you are. Not with their tone. Not with their comments. Not even with their silence. You do. And that's where this journey starts. This isn't just a video about setting boundaries. It's a reminder that your peace matters. Your voice matters. And you don't have to twist yourself into someone more acceptable just to please people who don't even value the real you. And yeah, this might feel uncomfortable. But guess what? That's how growth feels. Discomfort doesn't mean you're doing something wrong. It means you're doing something different, something new. That's exactly where Stoic philosophy comes in. The Stoics, people like Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, Epictetus, they taught something powerful. You don't control what happens around you, but you always control how you respond. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." That one line? That's the heart of everything we're about to talk about. Because this isn't about yelling louder. It's not about clapping back harder or proving yourself to anyone. It's about learning to hold your ground. To stand tall in a world that profits off making you feel small. To take back your energy. To say without saying a word, "I know who I am." So if you've ever felt like you're constantly explaining yourself, you're staying quiet just to keep the peace, you're drained from always being the nice one, then what you're hearing right now, it's more than advice. It's a shift. Because there comes a time when you stop waiting for people to treat you right, and you start choosing it for yourself. That moment is now. Let this be the chapter where your story changes, where you stop shrinking and start standing, where you stop explaining and start owning who you are. You're not here just to be tolerated. You're not here to stay quiet so others stay comfortable. You're here to live fully, boldly, and freely. The Stoics believed that virtue, character, integrity, self-respect was the highest good. And at the core of that virtue is your ability to choose what you allow in, what you walk away from, what you give your energy to. Epictetus said, "If you want to improve, be willing to look foolish." In other words, let go of trying to be liked. Start living aligned. Aligned with your peace. Aligned with your values. Aligned with your truth. So don't just watch this. Live it. Let every truth, every story, every strategy you're about to hear not just inform you, but transform you. You don't need heavier armor. You need deeper roots. And that's exactly what we're building together. Let's begin. 1. Embrace the silent stare. Sometimes the strongest thing you can say is absolutely nothing. Let's talk about something super simple, but surprisingly powerful: intentional silence. Not that awkward kind where you don't know what to say. I'm talking about the kind that says everything without a single word. Here's the truth. When someone disrespects you, cuts you off, mocks you, questions your worth, they're usually fishing for a reaction. Anger, defensiveness, maybe even a little fear. Why? Because the moment you lose your cool, they win. Now picture this. Someone throws shade at you. Maybe during a meeting. Maybe at a family dinner. Maybe in a group chat where everyone else is watching, waiting for your response. And instead of reacting, you don't. You pause. You look them straight in the eyes. You say nothing. And you let that silence hang there, calm, still, totally unbothered. Not passive. Not angry. Just present. That's not weakness. That's power. The ancient Stoics had a word for this. Temperance. The ability to control your impulses, to stay centered when everything around you is pulling at your peace. Marcus Aurelius said, "How much more harmful are the consequences of anger than the causes of it?" That's what the silent stare gives you. Control. Not over them, but over you. I remember a meeting years ago. There was this guy who kept talking over me, again and again. At first I tried being polite. Waited, smiled, let it slide. But he just kept going. So finally I leaned back in my chair, crossed my arms, and just stared at him. No blinking, no flinching, just stillness. 5 seconds, then 10. And just like that, the mood changed. He got uncomfortable, lost his train of thought. He didn't interrupt me again. Because here's the thing, sometimes the most powerful boundary is the one you don't have to say out loud. The silent stare forces people to feel the weight of their own behavior. You're not attacking them. You're not defending yourself. You're holding up a mirror. And a lot of people, they're not ready to see their own reflection. But here's what's beautiful. The more you do this, the more you start to reclaim pieces of yourself you didn't even know you gave away. The part of you that laughed off disrespect to keep things peaceful. The part that stayed quiet so other people wouldn't feel uncomfortable. The part that confused being polite with being small. When you learn to hold your silence like a shield, you take all of that back. The Stoics taught that peace isn't something you wait for, it's something you protect. It's your responsibility, your practice, your power. Seneca said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." And when you can sit there, still and centered, while the world pushes your buttons, that's freedom. You're not reacting. You're not flinching. You're not handing over your energy to people who haven't earned it. You're just grounded. So next time someone crosses the line, don't explain. Don't escalate. Just look at them. Let your silence speak for you. Let it be the wall they can't climb. The message they can't ignore. The moment they realize you're not the one. And maybe, just maybe, it becomes the moment you realize it too. 2. Let silence speak for you. If the silent stare is how you hold your ground, then letting silence speak is how you protect it. Let's be real, most people aren't comfortable with silence. It makes them uneasy. They feed off noise, tension, drama, or backhanded comments to feel in control. And they expect you to join them in the chaos, to argue, to react, to lose your cool. But what if you didn't? What if your response was no response at all? What if, instead of defending yourself, explaining your decisions, or taking the bait, you just paused, held your peace, said nothing, not out of fear, not because you're weak, but because you're in control? When chosen on purpose, silence becomes something powerful. It becomes a statement, a boundary, a shield. I remember a moment I'll never forget. Someone I once trusted made a sharp, cutting comment about a decision I had made. They laughed like it was just a joke. But it wasn't. Everyone in the room felt the sting. I had the words. I could have said something back. But I didn't. I just looked at them, gave a calm, steady smile. And then I turned away. That moment changed everything. I didn't play the game. I didn't validate the disrespect. I didn't hand over my energy. And in that silence, they were left alone with their own discomfort. That's the thing about silence. It reflects, it magnifies, it echoes. The ancient Stoics knew this well. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." And silence, when used with intention, is one of the highest forms of self-control. You don't have to respond to every jab. You don't need to justify your path to people who were never meant to walk it with you. Sometimes the most powerful sentence you'll ever say is the one you don't. When you stay quiet, something amazing happens. You hand the moment back to the other person. Let their words linger in the air. Let them feel the weight of what they've just said. Not because you scolded them, but because you didn't take the bait. You gave them space to see themselves. And you keep your peace. You walk away calm. And you stay grounded. That's the real lesson. Not everyone deserves your energy. Not every insult deserves your explanation. Not every critic deserves your clarity. Silence becomes your filter. And through that filter, only what really matters gets to stay. The world demands noise. quick reactions, instant replies. But your real strength? It grows in stillness. So the next time someone disrespects you, pause. Don't explain. Don't engage. Let silence rise. Let it stretch. Let it fill the room, soft, calm, and impossible to ignore. Because silence in its purest form says, I don't need your approval to stand in my truth. I won't fight for space. I am the space. And that's Stoic strength in action. So let your silence speak, not as retreat, but as a declaration. I choose peace. I choose presence. I choose myself. 3. Stop explaining yourself. Let's talk about one of the quietest ways we betray ourselves, the constant need to explain. Have you noticed how fast it happens? We make a decision that feels right, and before we've even taken the next step, we're already writing the script, the justification, the reasoning, the why we didn't go to that party, why we left that job, why we ended that relationship, why we're doing life a little differently. But let's be honest, most of the time people aren't asking to understand. They're asking to judge, to question, to plant doubt in a way that makes you second-guess yourself, just enough to keep you small. Here's the truth. You don't owe them that. You don't need to give anyone a PowerPoint presentation on why you're choosing you. You don't have to twist your decisions into a version they'll accept. Because every time you explain yourself to someone who has no intention of respecting your choices, you give your power away. You start living for their comfort instead of your clarity. I've been there. I once left a job that looked perfect from the outside. Good salary, great benefits, the kind of job people don't walk away from. So when I left, everyone wanted answers. They wanted something that made sense to them. And at first I tried. I talked about burnout, my values, my vision, my next step. But every explanation led to more questions, more opinions, more doubt. Until one day someone asked, why would you give all that up? And I said, because I needed to. That was it. No speech, no defense, just truth. And you know what? That's the moment I felt free. The Stoics believe that true freedom doesn't come from money or status or approval. It comes from ownership. Epictetus once said, don't seek the good in external things, seek it in yourself. And constantly explaining yourself? That's chasing external validation. That's looking outside for something only you can give yourself. Here's what I learned. The more you explain, the more confused you get. Not just them. Because when you start performing, you start forgetting. You begin rewriting your choices so they're easier to swallow. You dilute your truth just to avoid discomfort. And somewhere along the way, you forget what your own yes sounds like without an audience. So let me say this clearly. Not every decision needs a reason. Not every reason needs to be shared. And not everyone deserves a front row seat to your process. If it feels right in your soul, that's enough. Let that be your compass. Let that be your standard. And the next time someone pushes with, why'd you do that? Just smile. Pause. And if you want to answer, keep it simple. Because I wanted to. Because it felt right. Because I don't owe anyone an explanation for living in alignment. No footnotes. No apologies. That's not ego. That's clarity. That's self-respect. That's what Stoic peace looks like in motion. You don't need permission to choose yourself. And the people who really get you, they won't ask you to explain. They'll just be proud you finally stopped trying to. Keep your distance. Sometimes the most powerful act of self-respect is stepping back, not slamming the door, not cutting people off in anger, not making some dramatic exit, just choosing space, choosing to protect your peace, instead of constantly having to defend it. Here's a tough truth. Not everyone deserves front row access to your life, even if they're family, even if you've known them forever, even if they've been through a lot with you. Because history doesn't equal respect. Just because someone's been in your life doesn't mean they still belong there. And yeah, I know it's not easy, especially when the person you need space from is someone you love, or used to. Maybe it's a friend who always tears down your dreams and hides behind, I'm just being honest. Maybe it's a coworker who drains your energy, but masks it with sarcasm and fake support. Maybe it's a family member who crosses every boundary, then makes you feel guilty for finally noticing. And without realizing it, you start adapting. You flinch before speaking. You reread your text 3 times. You feel this weight before you even see their name on your phone. That's not connection. That's self-abandonment. The Stoics taught us to guard what they called the inner citadel. Your peace, your values, your mind. Marcus Aurelius said, "You'll find peace when you stop caring what they say, what they think, what they do, and focus only on what you do." You are not responsible for how people react to your boundaries. You're only responsible for setting them. Keeping your distance doesn't make you mean. It makes you clear. Clear about what you allow. Clear about what you won't. Clear about the kind of energy you want around you. I remember the first time I created real distance from someone close. No fight. No long goodbye. Just less. Less explaining. Less responding. Less availability. And in that space, I found something I didn't expect. Me. Joy. Peace. People who didn't just tolerate me, but saw me. You'd be amazed how many parts of you come back to life. Once you stop constantly shrinking to make someone else comfortable. It's not your job to carry their expectations. It's not your job to keep them close because of history. It is your job to protect your peace. So if someone disrespects your boundaries, if they dull your shine, if they make you feel smaller instead of stronger, it's okay to step back, even if you still care about them. Because distance isn't punishment. It's preservation. It's reclaiming your energy from people who only know how to take. The Stoics would remind you, you can't control others, only yourself. And that includes how much access people get to you. So create space. Let silence replace the effort. Let distance become the boundary. And just watch what starts coming back to you. Your clarity, your confidence, yourself. Because the right people, they won't be offended by your growth. They'll rise with you. 5. Hold your head high. Let's talk about something most people overlook. Posture, presence, poise. Because the way you carry yourself, physically, emotionally, and energetically, it speaks volumes before you even open your mouth. There's a reason people say, hold your head high. It's not just about how you stand. It's about what you stand for. It's a quiet signal to the world. I know who I am. Now when someone disrespects you, what they're really trying to do is make you shrink, to doubt yourself, to second-guess everything that makes you, you. Even if you're standing tall on the outside, they want you to fold on the inside. But when you lift your chin, square your shoulders, and root yourself in self-respect, you say something powerful without saying a word. I will not be made small. And yeah, it's not always easy. Especially when the disrespect comes from people who know exactly how to push your buttons. People who use sarcasm, subtle digs, or just joking comments as a way to test your worth. But here's the thing, when you don't flinch, when you hold your ground with calm, steady presence, they lose their grip. Their words stop landing. Their power starts to fade. Why? Because nothing shakes someone who's no longer playing small. The Stoics got this. They knew that your self-worth isn't something other people hand to you. It's something you claim. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Very little is needed for a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking." And how you think about yourself, it shows in how you move, how you enter a room, how you respond when someone tries to test your strength. So no, you don't have to raise your voice. You don't have to prove your value. You don't have to match anyone's energy. You just have to remember, the higher your self-respect, the lower their words will land. I remember this moment, walking into a room where the vibe was heavy, judgment was thick, and every eye was watching. A few years ago, I would have looked down, tried to disappear, apologized in every subtle way for even being there. But not that day. That day, I walked in with purpose, not ego, just presence. And when the comments came, they didn't stick. Because I wasn't there to be liked. I was there to be true. And something powerful happens when you carry yourself with quiet certainty. The people trying to bring you down start to look smaller. So the next time someone tries to test your worth, don't drop your eyes. Don't drop your standards. Lift your head. Stand in your truth. and let them feel the calm strength of someone who's done shrinking to fit into places they've outgrown. Because your posture is not just physical, it's emotional, it's spiritual. It's a statement that says, I know who I am. I'm not here to be reshaped. And while the world might keep trying to make you question that, your presence, your stance, your stillness can become your quiet revolution. And the best part? You don't have to prove anything. You just have to keep showing up. Shoulders back, head high, heart intact. That's not arrogance. That's not even confidence. That's self-respect in motion. That's the Stoic way. And that's what makes you untouchable. So here we are. 5 powerful reminders. 5 quiet revolutions. And they all point to one simple truth. You don't have to fight for your worth. You just have to remember it. In a world that celebrates noise, competition, and constant hustle, choosing calm? That's rare. Choosing self-respect? That's radical. But choosing yourself? That changes everything. Think back for a moment to the version of you who used to stay quiet when someone crossed the line, who explained every decision, who chased approval, who held space for people who never held it for you. And now you know, silence can be your strength, a distance can be your boundary, a stillness can be your shield, and presence, that's your power. The Stoics believed that real power wasn't about controlling others. It was about mastering yourself, your thoughts, your responses, your values. They knew peace doesn't come from being liked. It comes from living in alignment with who you are. So here's your invitation. Don't shrink. Don't chase. Don't over-explain. Stand tall. Speak less. Move with purpose. You're not here to be tolerated. You're here to be true. And when you start living that way, everything changes. The people who used to shake you go quiet. The spaces that once felt heavy lose their weight because you've changed. You've come home to yourself. Now you walk through life with that quiet, steady power, the kind no one can touch, the kind that doesn't ask for attention because it already commands it. So here's what I want you to do next. If this message landed with you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with a friend, a coworker, someone who's been dimming their light just to keep others comfortable. Send it to the version of you who needed it a year ago. And if you want more grounded, honest, powerful content like this, subscribe, hit the button, leave a comment. Let me know what part of this message hit the deepest, because this isn't just a video. It's a movement, a shift, a reclaiming. And I'm so glad you're walking this path with me. Until next time, stay calm, stay clear, stay powerful, and most importantly, remember who you are.